I first met Ozzy when I was around 18 years old, long before I could understand how deeply our lives would intertwine. He walked into my father's office during a business meeting connected to Black Sabbath, and in that moment, something shifted. I didn't yet have the words for it, but I sensed that he represented a world far larger than anything I had known. A world filled with music, rebellion, unpredictability, and ambition. It was thrilling and intimidating all at once. At the time, I couldn't have imagined that the man standing there would one day become my partner in life, love, and survival. Looking back now, I understand that some encounters plant seeds quietly, only revealing their meaning years later. And that first meeting was one of them. Childhood in a world of power, Sharon Rachel Arden was born in London in 1952, into a household where power was currency and authority ruled every interaction. Her father, Don Arden, was a towering figure in the music industry, respected, feared, and undeniably influential. To the outside world, he was a man who made stars and shaped careers, but inside the family home, his presence was overwhelming and uncompromising. Warmth was scarce, affection rarely expressed, and expectations were rigid. Sharon grew up learning that strength mattered more than softness, and survival often required silence. The environment was not one of comfort, but of constant alertness, where raised voices and tension filled the air, and where a child learned early that vulnerability could be costly. The early loss that changed everything. At just 6 years old, Sharon experienced a loss that would quietly shape the rest of her life: the death of her mother. With that loss came a sudden absence of comfort, tenderness, and emotional safety. The world did not slow down to allow her grief space. Instead, she was expected to carry on, to adapt, and to endure. That early heartbreak left a lasting imprint, teaching her that love could disappear without warning and that stability was never guaranteed. Even surrounded by material privilege and industry influence, Sharon felt emotionally adrift, learning to navigate life without the nurturing presence every child deserves. Learning the rules of survival. As Sharon grew older, she became an observer of power long before she ever held it herself. She watched her father dominate rooms, negotiate deals, and command loyalty through fear as much as respect. From him, she learned that success was not simply about talent or creativity. It was about resilience, strategy, and an unshakable will. Their relationship was often turbulent, marked by clashes that reflected Sharon's growing independence. Though painful, those confrontations forged her inner strength. They taught her how to stand her ground, how to endure criticism, and how to navigate environments where compassion was rarely prioritized. Stepping into adulthood. By the time Sharon entered adulthood, she was far from sheltered. She understood the mechanics of influence and the realities behind glamour. Her experiences had sharpened her instincts and given her a rare emotional toughness. Yet beneath that strength remained a longing for genuine connection, something rooted in trust rather than control. She had learned how to survive, but she was still searching for how to truly live. That balance between strength and vulnerability would soon be tested in ways she could never have anticipated. Choosing love over expectation. In her late 20s, Sharon stood at a defining crossroads. The life she had been groomed to inherit, one shaped by her father's empire, was within reach. But fate intervened in the form of John Michael "Ozzy" Osbourne. By that time, Ozzy was already a legendary voice in music, but he was also a man worn down by years of instability and public scrutiny. Many in the industry saw him as unreliable or finished. Sharon saw something else entirely. She saw humor, creativity, kindness, and an untamed spark that still burned bright. Choosing him meant stepping away from safety, approval, and expectation. It was not a calculated move, it was a deeply personal one. A leap into uncertainty, Loving Ozzy meant accepting uncertainty. It meant stepping into a life that offered no guarantees and required constant resilience. Sharon distanced herself from her father's influence and embraced a partnership built not on ease, but on commitment. The early years were challenging, filled with instability and moments that required strength she didn't yet know she possessed. But it was also a time of profound connection. Their bond was not based on illusion. It was grounded in honesty, shared struggle, and mutual determination. When they married in 1982, it was less a fairy tale and more a declaration. They would face whatever came together, building something new. Throughout the 1980s, Sharon worked tirelessly to help rebuild Ozzy's career. She took on the role of manager, advocate, and protector, navigating an unforgiving industry while shielding her family from its harshest edges. Albums released during this time became milestones, not only musically, but personally. Each success represented perseverance, belief, and an unwavering refusal to give up. Sharon's vision and discipline helped create opportunities not just for Ozzy, but for emerging artists as well, culminating in the creation of Ozzfest, a platform that reshaped the landscape of heavy music and brought new voices into the spotlight. Life behind the curtain. Public success often hides private cost. Behind the scenes, Sharon balanced business demands with family life, personal sacrifice, and emotional labor that rarely received acknowledgement. She became adept at crisis management, often putting her own needs aside to ensure stability for those she loved. The victories were real, but so were the long nights, the stress, and the weight of responsibility. It was a life lived at full volume, with very few moments of quiet. Opening the door to the world, when the family agreed to participate in a reality television series in the early 2000s, they did so without fully understanding how deeply it would blur the line between public and private life. Audiences saw humor, chaos, and candid moments that felt refreshingly honest. But behind the laughter were real challenges playing out under constant observation. Sharon later acknowledged that while the exposure brought opportunity, it also stripped away privacy, leaving little room to process personal struggles away from public judgment. Facing illness with resolve. During this same period, Sharon faced one of the most difficult challenges of her life, a serious health diagnosis that required immediate and demanding treatment. While continuing to support her family and maintain professional commitments, she endured physical exhaustion and emotional strain with quiet determination. She chose not to retreat, but to remain present, showing her children and her husband what resilience truly looked like. Her strength during this time was not loud or performative. It was steady, unwavering, and deeply human. Holding the family together, life did not pause to allow recovery. Soon after, Ozzy experienced a severe accident that required extensive medical care and rehabilitation. At the same time, Sharon's children were navigating their own struggles, each requiring attention, guidance, and support. Sharon became the anchor, organizing care, offering reassurance, and maintaining stability amid uncertainty. It was a season defined by endurance, where every day demanded emotional clarity and inner resolve. Reinventing herself publicly. Despite everything, Sharon continued to evolve professionally. She emerged as a compelling television personality, known for her intelligence, honesty, and wit. As a judge and host, she brought empathy shaped by lived experience, offering guidance that felt grounded rather than performative. Audiences responded to her authenticity. She was not presenting perfection. She was presenting truth. That relatability became one of her greatest strengths. The weight of public scrutiny. Public life, however, offers little mercy. Moments of controversy and misunderstanding brought intense scrutiny, reminding Sharon how quickly public perception can shift. The experience reinforced lessons she had learned long ago, that strength must extend beyond physical endurance to emotional resilience. She faced criticism with reflection rather than retreat, choosing growth over bitterness. Making difficult health choices years later, Sharon made a deeply personal health decision aimed at protecting her future and her family. The choice required courage, honesty, and acceptance of change. She spoke openly about the experience, not to seek sympathy, but to empower others to prioritize their well-being. By sharing her story, she transformed a private decision into a source of collective strength for countless women. Navigating marital challenges. Marriage, like life, is rarely without hardship. Sharon and Ozzy faced moments that tested trust and commitment. Rather than presenting a polished narrative, Sharon acknowledged the pain while emphasizing the work required to rebuild. Healing was not immediate, but it was intentional. Their relationship endured not because it was flawless, but because both were willing to confront truth with humility and effort. Growing older together. As the years passed, age introduced new challenges. Health concerns required adaptation, patience, and constant support. Sharon's role evolved once more, not just as a partner and manager, but as a steady presence through uncertainty. She approached this stage of life with the same resolve that had defined her journey, meeting change not with fear, but with compassion. A life defined by loyalty. Through decades of transformation, one theme remained constant: loyalty. To her family, to her values, and to the belief that love is worth fighting for. Sharon's life has never followed an easy path, but it has been marked by intention, courage, and persistence. Reflecting on the journey. Looking back, Sharon Osbourne's story is not one of perfection or ease. It is a story of survival, reinvention, and commitment. From a childhood shaped by loss to a life lived under relentless spotlight, she has carried herself with resilience forged through experience. Her legacy is not defined solely by fame or success, but by the quiet strength shown in moments when no audience was watching. Lessons that endure. Sharon's journey reminds us that strength is not the absence of pain, but the willingness to keep moving forward despite it. Her openness has offered comfort to others facing illness, uncertainty, and change. She demonstrates that love, when chosen daily, can be a source of profound endurance. A lasting influence. Today, Sharon Osbourne stands as a symbol of authenticity and perseverance. Her life reflects the power of choice. The choice to love deeply, to endure hardship, and to remain true to oneself even when the world is watching. Her story is not just one of fame, but of humanity, reminding us that the scars we carry are not signs of weakness, but proof that we survived and kept going